If I told you that a shy, exhausted waitress with coffee stains on her apron and holes in her shoes would one day walk into a royal palace, not as a guest, but as its queen, you'd probably smile and shake your head. But by the time you hear the end of this story, you might start believing that life has a way of turning its most ordinary chapters into something extraordinary. And if this story touches you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Everyday Grey Stories, because sometimes, a single story can remind us that miracles happen when we least expect them. Sophia had never been the kind of girl who dreamed of glass slippers or tiaras. She had bills to pay, a sick mother to care for, and a brother who needed school fees. Life wasn't a fairy tale, it was double shifts at the diner, a cramped apartment with peeling paint, and nights when she'd eat the leftover soup from work because she couldn't afford groceries. She was used to being invisible to the world, used to the sting of people ignoring her smile, used to thinking that dreams were for people with more luck than she had. It was a rainy Tuesday night when everything began to change. The diner was nearly empty, just the usual hum of the coffee machine and the sound of rain tapping against the glass. Sophia was refilling cups when the bell above the door chimed. In walked a man in an expensive suit, the kind of person who seemed wildly out of place in her world. His hair was neatly styled, his shoes polished enough to catch the reflection of the lights. He took a seat in her section and, to her surprise, smiled warmly. "Rough night for you, isn't it?" he asked, glancing at her tired eyes. Sophia forced a polite laugh. "Just another day at the office." "Coffee?" Over the next hour, he didn't just sip his coffee, he asked her questions. Real ones. About her life, her family, her dreams. At first, she kept her answers short, wary of strangers who seemed too interested. But there was something disarming about him, something that made her feel seen. Before he left, he placed a card on the table. "My name's Alexander," he said. "If you ever want a different kind of job, call me." She laughed it off. Men like him didn't give jobs to women like her. But later that night, curiosity got the better of her. She searched his name online, and froze. He wasn't just Alexander. He was Alexander King, a billionaire investor with companies around the world, often photographed alongside celebrities and political leaders. Sophia didn't call. Not at first. But the week her mother's medical bills piled so high she couldn't breathe, she found the card again. Her hands shook as she dialed. Within days, she found herself working as an assistant at one of Alexander's charity foundations. It was nothing glamorous, sorting papers, answering calls, but it paid better than the diner, and for the first time in years, she felt she was doing something that mattered. She also began to see a different side of Alexander. He wasn't just the man in the suit. He was the man who personally visited orphanages, who stayed late in the office to make sure a struggling family's grant went through, who remembered the names of every staff member. Months passed, and Sophia's quiet competence didn't go unnoticed. She rose through the ranks, earning his trust, and eventually, his friendship. Still, she never imagined anything beyond that, because people like her didn't end up with people like him. Then came the night of the gala. The foundation was hosting its annual fundraising ball, and Sophia was tasked with organizing it. She arrived in a borrowed gown, her hair pinned up, feeling like an imposter among the glittering crowd. But when Alexander saw her, his usual composed expression shifted. There was a softness in his eyes, a kind of admiration that made her heart stumble. That night, they danced. Slowly, carefully, as though the world around them had faded. "You deserve so much more than you've been given, Sophia," he whispered. She smiled sadly. "We don't always get what we deserve." But Alexander wasn't the kind of man to leave words hanging. Over the next weeks, his feelings became harder to hide. He found excuses to spend time with her, to walk her home, to share quiet dinners in his office. And then one evening, on the steps of the foundation, he told her he didn't care about the rules of their worlds, he only cared about her. It wasn't easy. The press tore her apart when their relationship became public. Headlines sneered, "Waitress bags billionaire," and "From coffee to cash, a Cinderella scam?" Sophia endured whispers, online insults, even threats. She considered walking away, not because she doubted his love, but because she feared the cruelty of the world. But Alexander stood by her side, refusing to let her fight alone. When he asked her to marry him, it wasn't in some palace ballroom, it was in her mother's small kitchen, with a simple ring and tears in his eyes. "I don't want a queen who was born in a castle," he said. "I want the queen who knows what it's like to fight for every inch of her crown." They married quietly at first, but soon after, Alexander's philanthropic work caught the attention of a small European nation in need of leadership. Through a twist of political opportunity, he was offered a royal title, Prince Consort, and Sophia, by his side, became their queen. But she didn't spend her days hosting banquets. She built schools. She funded hospitals. She made sure no child in her country went hungry. Years later, standing on the balcony of the palace, Sophia would look out at the crowds cheering for her and think about the diner, the rain, the man who walked in that night. She'd think about how life isn't about where you start, it's about the courage to take the hand that's offered to you, even when you feel you don't belong. And that's the lesson, dear listener. You are not defined by your beginnings, but by your belief that you are worthy of something greater. If Sophia could go from a coffee-stained apron to a crown, then maybe, just maybe, the life you dream of is already on its way to find you. So, if this story touched your heart, give it a like, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Everyday Grace Stories. Because the next story we share, might just be yours.